Hi, I'm Jennifer Lee. I am an art teacher at Newbury Park High School in Newbury Park, California, and I was one of the teachers that was selected to be in the 2024 Fulbright Hays Group Projects Abroad that was connected with UC Berkeley. So during the month in London, I got to spend time in collaboration with other teachers in California, and we got to meet different experts in the Silk Road field. So we got to hear directly from them and ask them all of our burning questions, and we got to see lots of artifacts, including manuscripts and artworks in person, like super close up, even more close up than what we would see in a museum. So that was super amazing, especially as an art teacher, to be able to actually be up close with those really ancient objects was really amazing to see. So some of the objects that interested me the most were the textiles. So we got to see a lot of weavings and silk paintings. So those influenced me to create a weaving unit for my students. So I created the unit for my International Baccalaureate art class. So with that class, we have a unit on weaving. So they've never done weaving before, so I wanted to start really basic and then build up from there. So for the foundation of the unit, we talk about the idea of the warp and the weft in weaving. So in the warp, that is the foundational element of the weaving. It's the structure. So I had students reflect on what was the foundational elements in their life, so things like their family. And then for the weft, those were the outside influences, like their friends or sports or whatnot, and how those have affected their lives. And then they cut them up and then they wove those together. And then from there, they have to research and reflect on the different parts of the unit in their workbooks. And students, we kind of took little baby steps, and the students from there created a design, which is called a cartoon, and then they were able to take that design that they had made and then recreate it with a paper weaving. And then from the paper weaving, we moved on to weaving with fiber. So we're using yarn and wool, and students learned basic weaving with that. And then I taught them more advanced techniques, and then they're going to make a sampler where they can try out some of the more advanced techniques and start to create an image with weaving. And then after that, after they have all this background, they're going to be creating a final project. So in the final project, they'll be creating an artwork that is personal to them, involves materials that have meaning to them, and involve weaving. So they're going to take all these different components and weave them together for the final project. So I wanted to especially thank the Tonks Center for the opportunity to go to London and being able to have this once-in-a-lifetime experience that really affected my teaching, and I think made me a better teacher and brought back this lesson unit that I wouldn't have been able to come up with otherwise. So it's had a really big impact already on my teaching, and my students are really enjoying the lesson so far, and I'm really excited to see what their final projects look like. So I wanted to do a couple of announcements before we started class. So on Canvas, I posted an announcement about the Agora Art Contest. So it's a juried on art contest, so not everybody will get in. So I think 75 art pieces are getting picked to be in the show, so you'll get extra credit for submitting something, and then I'll give you more if you are actually in the show, because you have to do extra work for that. So that information is on Canvas under the announcements. It's free to enter, so you're not going to lose out on anything for entering, so I highly encourage you to enter the contest. And then AP, you guys are going to be continuing to work on your project, and then everybody has your workbooks due tonight. So IB, you're doing a page on loom research, and then you're going to document and reflect on weaving on the cardboard loom. So we started that last class, and then we're going to continue it today. And then AP, you guys are doing research for your weaving project, so that could be anything that relates to the project, whatever you need help with. And you're going to be documenting your project progress. So for IB, we're going to continue what we did last class. So you guys want to make sure you have the string that you cut from last class, and you want to have your looms ready. The first part, I'm just going to be demoing some stuff with you, and then the second part, you'll be doing some other types of stitches with me. So I'll show you guys that. So that's what this string you cut is for. So for IB, we're going to be starting, this is going to be like a little project that is due, it's going to be due the final day, but you'll have time to work on it during that period. So next Friday, it's just a little mini project, so it's only 40 points. So you're going to be making a little sampler. So I'm going to teach you guys some different stitches beyond the basic tabby stitch. So you could see this one has that basic tabby stitch that you guys have been practicing already right here. So today I'm going to show you guys how to change color, so how you could do like half gray and half white right here. And then I'll show you how to do the knotting and the little kind of braided effect. So I'll show you guys how to do those things today. So when you guys are creating the sampler and just weaving in general, you want to keep in mind that the thinner your yarn is and the closer your warps are, the more complex your design can be. So you can think of it like digital art where you have pixels. So if you have more pixels, you're going to get a more realistic image versus having very little pixels, and it's going to come out distorted if you try to make the image bigger. So when we're doing our practice, we only did the warp strings on every other little notch, so that gives you like less ability to do complicated patterns. So if you use warp strings that are closer together, you can create a more complex design. And same thing with the yarn. So in the picture down here, you can see the yarn is really thin. So you're able to fit more pieces of yarn in the same amount of space. Where here, it's going to take up more space because the yarn is thicker. So thicker yarn will cover a wider area, but you won't be able to do anything complex with the thicker yarn. So when you guys did the paper weaving, we had the cartoon. So you're going to be adding a cartoon and creating a cartoon. So this is the same thing that you did for the paper weaving. So you're going to be able to slip the paper underneath the loom, and you're going to create a pretty simple design and pattern. And you want to make sure the design fits with the warps. So the lines on your warp strings, you want to make sure fit with the vertical lines that are going down in your cartoon. So I wanted to show you guys how to link the blocks of color together. So last class, you guys went all the way across the loom with your different colors, but you don't have to go all the way across. So there's two main techniques that you can use to connect colors. So the first one, you're using a slit technique. So with the slit technique, you're just weaving the colors, and then you're just stopping the weaving when you're going to get to the next color. So I wanted to show you that on the screen really quick. So you have the cartoon, so I just did it on grid paper, and then I just drew a really simple design, and then I just want to make sure that my warps line up with the vertical lines of the grid. So I'm going to create like a border on my design. So right here, I'm going to have one color, and then I'm switching to a different color down here. So I'm going to use a different color here. So this is a different tan color versus the darker tan color. So what I want to do is I already did a weaving along the bottom. So I'm going to take, and when you're doing this, you're going to want to use the short needles that you guys were using last class. So you can thread your yarn. So I just kept going across here, and then for my next row, Right here I went under, so here I'm gonna go over, so then I do under, over, just like we did before. I'm just going in the opposite direction of what I did below. And then I'm just gonna, I wanna make this side a little loose on the end to kind of fill in the gap. So this is the slit. So it's called a slit because you, like, technically you can like open this and it's not connected. So you can see how it's not connected there. So that's the slit technique. And then there's another way that you can combine. And then this PowerPoint is on Canvas, so you guys are able to refer to the different stitches. So you could do it straight or you could do it diagonally. So if you're trying to create triangles or diamonds, you're able to do it that way. So the other way to combine colors together is to do an interlock technique. So in the interlock technique, you're kind of sewing the different parts, the two colors together so that they meet. And there's different ways that you can combine them together. So let me just show you that really quick. So I'm just going to pull this part out. So now instead of going to my next row with the gray color, I'm going to take the like joining part with the other color. So there's a little loop, and then I'm going to put the needle through the loop, and that's going to like tie the two colors together. And then just make sure to strum and do the packing with your weaving so that it comes out even. And then you can go ahead and weave normal. So that there's just like a little extra step there. So I'm going to do the over under. So with this one, it's combined. Let's see if this will catch up. So this one, you don't have that slit. It's combined together. So like if I pull this side's going to come with it. So it's more linked. So normally I would say people use this technique to connect different colors together. So those are two ways that you can connect your colors in your little sampler project. Okay. So if you need help with that when you get to the color parts, just let me know. And then like I said, these diagrams are in the PowerPoint that I shared with you on Canvas. So we're going to try out some different advanced weaving techniques. So this is when you guys want your looms and your string. So we are going to do the sumac stitch first. So you just want to take one of your colors, and we're going to do this braided effect. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So basically you're looping the yarn around your warp threads. So you're going to take your string. I'm using this really thick white string just so you could see it a little easier. So I'm going to just tuck one end so I have a little tail. Let me put it on that side. So just leave a little tail at the end. And then you're going to have the yarn wind back around the warp. So you're kind of doing like a D shape. And then I'm going to tuck it under. So you're like wrapping it around the warp. So camera's being super slow. So I'm going to wrap that underneath the warp, and then you're going to pull that through. So you have your little tail. Make it a little longer than that. So just you have your little tail, and then you're going to make like the D kind of shape like that. So it's going to go like that. And then you're going to wrap that underneath the same warp thread. So you do the D, and then you're gonna pull the thread forward. I was doing it backwards, and then I was confusing myself. So you're gonna pull it to, it's gonna be your right. So it makes a little loop like that, so you get like a little like diagonal loop. So you're just gonna keep doing that across. You're taking the end of the D and you're looping it underneath. Oops, that's not right. And then you'll take the next one. So the next one's gonna go over the next warp, and then you're gonna wrap that underneath and then pull it through. So you just go to the warp and then underneath and then pulling it through. So you get these kind of little diagonal stitches with that. So you can keep this straight, or you can make it diagonal, or you can make it wavy, so you can like play with like how high or low the different stitches are. And then you can do multiple rows of it, and it's going to create this braided effect. So in the diagram on the right, you can see how you just do it the opposite way. For me, it's easier just to flip it over and do it the other way, but you're just going over, under, over, under. So you're just looping the string around. Ways that you can do besides tabby. So usually these types of stitches, you just use them as accent stitches. You wouldn't do like a whole thing with just like a sumac normally. So the next one is twining. So go ahead and pull out the stitches you just did so that you have 2 pieces of string. So go ahead and pull out what you did already, and then we're going to use 2 pieces of string. So the twining creates a twisted and wrapped effect. So you're overlapping one piece as you alternate between the weaving. So you're kind of, it's a little tricky because you're weaving and braiding at the same time. So you have 2 colors. So you're going to take your bottom color. So I'm just doing like groups of yarn just so it shows it better on the screen. So you want to take your bottom yarn and you're going to tuck that one under. So you're going to have 1 string going under your first warp, 1 going over. So just 1 is underneath. So this, just pretend this is 1 string. I just have a group of strings just so it shows up better than me doing 1 string. So 1 is under, the top is going over. So you're going to take your top string and you're going to move it diagonal across on top of the bottom. And then this top one I'm going to put under this second warp thread. So this was over here, now it's under. This is over, under. So you can see how we're weaving with these 2 pieces of string at the same time. So I'm going to bring my bottom one up and my top one down so that they cross. So this is how you get that twisted effect. So you can see this one's facing up, this one's facing down. So my green string was an over one on my last warp. So now I'm going to put it under the third warp. So you can always just back up and see what you did previously. So the green string is going under now, and then I'm going to switch so that my tan string is going down and my green string is going up. And then you just keep going across. So my tan one, I'm going to put this one under. And then you just have to remember to switch. So then you could see how it's creating that twist. So it would do that twist all the way across. So this green string was going over, so that means now on the next warp it needs to go under. So it's going under here. And then I'm going to switch it. And then the tan string. And then you just keep changing the direction of the string. So which one's up, which one's down? You guys doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so while the wool's still getting passed out, I want to show you the knotting technique. So it's called a knotting technique, but you're actually not tying any knots, so it gets a little confusing. So with the Raya knot, you're using it as an accent. You could use it in like the center to create kind of like a shaggy technique, or you could use it at the bottom to create fringe. You want to do, like in the picture right here, you want to do some of just like the basic tabby technique to help support the knots. And then you would do the knots on top. So I wanted to show you how to do that. This one you can just watch, or if you want to take one of your pieces of string, you can just fold it up a couple times and you can try it out. So let me put the screen back up. So I have my tabby at the bottom right here. So you want to take your string, and it doesn't matter, you're just going to like pick a set of 2 warps. And you're just going to make like a little U shape over the 2 warps. I think this is zoomed in too much now. Let me zoom this out a little. So I'm making a little U shape over the knots. Thank you. So I have the little U. You're going to take one side of the string. I'm going to start the right side. And I'm going to take the ends. And I'm going to go outside of the string and then to the center. So I went out and then in. And I'll do that one more time. So you have the U over the 2 strings. So I'm doing these 2 warp threads. And then I am taking that, I'm wrapping it around the outside and then going in the middle between the 2. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to go from the outside, going to wrap that to the inside. And then all you do is pull this down. Make sure your sides are pretty even if you're trying this out. But you just pull it down, and then it magically makes a knot. So you're not tying any knots, but it magically makes a knot. So it looks like that. See right here how you do the U, and then you go outside to the inside. So it's just how you're placing the strings. So they're going out here, and then they're coming back in towards the middle, and then you just pull it down. And then after you make your knots, like you could see like my fringe isn't even, so then at the end you could just take scissors to make it even. You guys doing okay with that? Oh yeah, that looks good. Okay. Sorry for you guys since we just did it, but if you need to watch it on your own, if you forget how to do it, you could watch the video. And there's lots of different weaving videos. So the wool that you guys have, we're going to play around with that next. So the wool roving, it's just wool before it's spun into yarn. So the other day I showed you guys the silk video where they took the strands of silk and then they twisted into yarn. So this is how they take wool, and then for yarn, they're just spinning like the little fibers together to make the yarn. So this is like pre-yarn. So you can use this to create like fun texture in your weaving. You just want to use it as an accent. So I have different colors. For this wool, it's pretty much, I don't think this is dyed. I think this is just like the natural color of the wool, but I have like dyed colors. So there's like different colors you could use. So you can use this as an accent in your project. If you end up wanting to use like a ton of this, you'd want to like buy some of your own, but if you just want to use it as an accent, then you can use the stuff we have in class. So you want to take your little clump and then just kind of roll it out a little bit. It doesn't need to be even, so you're just kind of taking your fingers and rolling just to kind of create like a really loose cylinder, I guess, kind of shape. You have a little piece like this, so like right here, mine's really thin. That's okay. And you can make some parts thicker or thinner just by rolling it more. So like if I want to make that a little thinner, I just rolled it there a little bit more. So then you're just going to do the tabby technique. And you're just going to weave it through your warp threads. So let me show you guys that on the camera. So you're just going to take an end and you're going to put it under. So then we have our over. So if you do this and your warps are closer together, you can always skip some warps. So you could do every other. So, but on our practice one, since we already skipped warps when we were adding our warp threads, I'm just going to do every one. So we're just going to do the tabby. So you're just doing over, under, over, under. And it doesn't need to be perfectly straight. So just like we did with some of the other techniques, you could have it go diagonally. It can go straight across. So you can kind of play around with these different techniques. So this one adds a lot of fun texture to your weaving. And then you could also like tug at the wool and make it thinner or thicker, and you can like arrange it how you want it to look. And you can also pull it across more. So it's just like, it's not really a different knotting technique, it's just more of a different type of material that you can use with weaving. So I gave you guys a link. This is a really good website that has lots of different techniques. So I only showed you guys some weaving techniques. This is not all the different types of weaving you could do. So on this website, there's lots of other types of knots. So at the bottom right here, she shows you different ways to do weaving and how to use different materials. So like if any of you want to bring in for materials, like she did one with denim. So if you want to bring in a pair of old jeans, you could do that. So you're going to be doing an advanced weaving techniques research page. So the stuff that we practiced today. And then you want to document and reflect the making of your weaving sampler. So those will be the two workbook pages for next week. So take some pictures of what you've done. So for the sampler, these are going to be the requirements. So you want to sketch out a simple cartoon to plan out your design. I have the graph paper up here if you want to use graph paper. You could also use the Google Sheets like you did on the paper weaving. You want to make sure to use at least 3 different colors, and you want to combine them with those slit or interlock techniques. And then you want to use at least 2 different advanced weaving techniques. And then this is the rubric that you'll be graded on for the sampler. So like I said earlier, it's going to be 40 points. So your weaving technique, your design, the craftsmanship. So that little sample I showed you that someone left behind, the craftsmanship grade would not be very good on that one. So remember, you had the end that was all wavy, and they had like a couple areas where they accidentally had two parts. Let me see if I can show you on the screen. So on here, like I showed you guys the wavy edge, so this would lower your weaving techniques. But then they also, like here, they have these strings like on the tabby, instead of it being like over under, they had two unders and then they went over again. So you just want to be careful. So with weaving, it's really easy to undo your mistake. So if you see a mistake, you want to make sure to fix that. And then right here, you can see that slit technique they use to do the white and then the black. So you guys have the rest of the period to start trying out some different techniques and start thinking about what you want to do for your sampler. And then if you need help, let me know. I'm gonna start putting out, we have a lot of yarn, and Megan, she's also my TA, she helped to kind of categorize the yarn, so just keep them in the categories just so that if you're looking for a specific type of yarn, you can easily find it. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll pass around my example just so you can see like what the cartoon should look like, and then graph paper is up here so you can help yourselves to that. So with this sampler, if you guys want to use the cardboard loom, you can cut that off and start over. I also have other looms, so you are welcome to use those. So let me show you. I have a couple different sizes. And then I have a couple of these kind of like frame ones, so you're welcome to use those as well. And then there's little baggies that have some other tools in here. And then I'm gonna put the yarn at this table over here just so you guys have easier access. So you guys are welcome to get started. And then if you guys remember to bring your workbooks, or if you have them like digitally, if you could just have those out. So in the class, every week the students turn in workbook pages. So the workbook pages, they document their process for whatever project they're working on, and they also do research on different artists and cultures. So on this page, students found another artist that uses paper weaving in their art, and they researched their art and talked about how they could influence them. On this page, they started to experiment with paper weaving themselves. So on sheets of paper, they wrote out their foundational things in their life. So that was like the symbolic of the warp in weaving. And then for the weft part, they talked about the different outside influences in their life. And then they cut them up and they wove them together. And then after that, they started to create a design with paper weaving. So they created a design which is called a cartoon. And then they made the design with paper and weaving it together. And then we also talked about the Silk Road and how the different cultures were influenced from one another and how a lot of them used weaving. So on this page, students chose different cultures along the Silk Road. So the student chose Persia, and they researched the culture and how they used weaving and the common designs and patterns that that culture has.